Oh, crazy hair. Hi, everyone, and I am wearing my favorite Libertarian Party of Minnesota t-shirt. You notice I've been wearing this a lot because I love the shirt. So shout out to my peeps in Minnesota. As you can tell, my voice is not well. I have not been well. Don't know what I've had. The convention crud is what I call it, but I've pretty much been in bed since we got back. But I need to get back in the saddle. We're done with convention. I need to be back live streaming. So I figured I would start this with, like, I'm not going to say no holds barred, because I am an officer of the party. So even though this is my personal channel, don't remove me, bro. I still do have my duties. So there are going to be some things that I'm going to go, you know what, we're not going there. But there are other things that I wish to talk to you all about. So I want you to put your questions in chat, because I don't know what you want to talk about. So this is going to be just a stream of consciousness, and see what you guys want. Excuse me. Mike just said in chat that I sound better than expected. That will probably lessen as the show goes on, because I am really, really not feeling well. But if I did not get back into live streaming, I would be not doing a service to my sponsors. So Morgan said, congratulations on re-election. Let me put the ones I'm responding to up top, because this is going to be a very interactive stream. And I do see your question, Brian. I'm going to get to all questions, and if I don't want to answer, I'll tell you I don't want an answer. So it's an ask me almost anything. So Morgan said, congrats, condolences on re-election. Thank you so much. I did obviously want to get re-elected, and let's talk about that. Let's go there. Let's get it all out, shall we? Some people might not like what I have to say, but we're going to get the petty, salty bitchiness out of the way at the beginning. Let's do this, okay? Let's do this. So yes, obviously, I did want to be reelected. I ran. I won on the first round. I won on the first round on every single one of my elections. But this one, it was close. And if it had just been me and my initial opponent, it would not have been close. Sorry, not sorry. Who cares that I said that? Anyway, we'll just deal with it. I'm sorry. Against Sean. So Mimi entered into the race at the last moment. Mimi has been a state convention secretary before, so had recently, so had a bit more qualifications. Let me just say this about my two opponents. On the stage, Mimi delivered a classy speech. On the stage, Sean just proceeded to trash me for 2 minutes straight, and delegates don't like that. Delegates just don't like that. Mimi was going to originally run for vice chair, decided at the last minute to run for secretary. From what I heard, don't know if this is true. You all can confirm this or not. Somebody who was part of the corrupt LNC in 2020, not going to name any names, is the one who convinced her and ran around and got signatures for her to run against me. But let's say this. Let's say that I had lost that race. Let me tell you one thing I would have done. I would have, in person, congratulated the winner. That's just what decent people do in political parties, and neither of them congratulated me. And I'm sorry, that is classless. And in fact, my original opponent, Sean, wrote me a month before and promised me, in a very passive-aggressive way, but promised me that he would never directly attack me. Meanwhile, he spent his whole 2-minute speech attacking me. So just take that for what it's worth. Just take that for what it's worth. You don't go in your nomination speech and attack people. Delegates don't like that. You let your work and your accomplishments stand for itself. I don't feel the need to attack other people like that are running directly against me. And have I been perfect in that? Absolutely not. But I think you deserve to know when people don't even have the grace to congratulate people on their win. Now, Sean did congratulate me on Twitter, but not in person. Anyway, just so you know, again, this is a let's get it out, ask me anything. I am grateful to everyone who reelected me. It did mean a lot to me. I know you may not have agreed on every position that I've held. It's impossible to agree with everyone on every position that they have held. I think that everyone who knows me really well, even when they disagree, knows that I truly hold what I believe on principle and not for expediency. So I am glad to have another 2 years to work for the party. I'm the second only of two. That's what I'm trying to say. Only of two 4-term secretaries on the party. The person who did that before was Bob Sullenthrop. I don't know, and I don't think he was on the LNC before. So I might be the only, well, no, Tim Hagen has done this. I think he's been longer, but this is now my fifth consecutive term on the LNC, which means that I'll be on the LNC 10 years. We're just over 50 years old, so I will have been on the LNC. I'm bad at math. What is 10 out of 50? That's like 20%, isn't it? So I've been on the LNC for a good portion of the party's existence. Math is hard. There is a reason why I did not run for treasurer. You definitely do not want me as treasurer of the party. So yeah, 20%. So we're over 50 years, so I've been on the LNC for about maybe about 18% of the party's history. That's kind of crazy when you think of it. And thank you, Adonis. I love my set. But there was a question from Brian. Let's put this up here. Can you help clarify the reception to Donald J. Trump at the convention? Was he mainly booed or cheered? Each wing says something different. I think each wing is right. It depended on what he was saying. I actually liked the reception that he got. I think booing him the whole time would have been extremely ungracious and stupid. Let me give you a bunch of examples, and I want to remind you all, and at the risk of getting mocked by some of my haters, which I don't really care anymore, I am once again not employed. As I'm getting older, I think maybe I'm just getting crankier and more difficult. I don't know, doing things that I don't love. So I do count on your super chats. Would love to do the show a lot more full time, and I am working towards that, but it's actually a blessing in disguise, because I do not think that I would have been able to get ready for convention if I had to work full time right before convention, and that's how I've been able to been in bed. So I'm expecting all the usual haters to be like, oh my god, an unemployable paralegal, even though, like, when I worked in Florida, I was at the same job for like 20 years. Maybe it's the political involvement that is splitting my attention. I can tell you, over the next 2 years, I am not going to be as involved in committees and other party activities. I need to concentrate on my family and supporting my family and things like that. So you will see a change in my focus, but this is an all out there podcast. So if you are not yet a Patreon to my content and you do want to support me, I need your help more than ever. It's tinyurl.com/Pink Flame of Liberty. Now that convention is over, you will be getting regular content from me. I know you hadn't been for the 2 months before, and those of you who have stuck with me, I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. So back to the question, I wish it had stayed up, about Donald J. Trump. What I didn't like, he was booed before he even came on stage. We invited him. He was a guest. That's rude. I know I've gotten a lot of crap for saying that, but that's rude. If I have a neighbor I don't care for, but I still invite them over so that we can discuss, or at least they can hear out my grievances, for me to open my front door and boo them as they're walking in, we need to learn to have a little bit more social grace than that. Yes, he's a war criminal. Yes, I do not care for Donald J. Trump. I don't think anyone who knows me, and thank you for the super chat, Samuel. I totally appreciate it, more than you could possibly know. I don't like him, but we invited him, and we need to learn how to human better. Booing before he even got on stage was embarrassing to me. Now, after the speech started, I thought the boos and the cheers were very appropriate. We keep acting like there are pure devils and pure angels, and I'm sorry, there is no pure devils and pure angels. Yes, Donald J. Trump, let's just say Trump, is super bad, like super evil on some things, but he's not on others. And for us to pretend like he did not do any libertarian friendly things during his past administration is just blind tone deafness. Was it very many? No, most of it was not. More than Biden, in my opinion, more than Biden. And here's the fact. Right now, him or Biden is going to be the next president. Do we want them to be predisposed to liberty ideas or not? Yeah, we can get our nut off. Boo, boo, boo. And we feel all self-righteous. And we can go in our hotel room and fap over it later about how rude we are to possibly the next president of the United States. But what is that going to do for freedom? Showing a little bit of just respect for even the power that we don't respect is just good politics. So he said some really awful things, and we booed during those things. We booed when he said he was a libertarian, because he's not a libertarian. And we cheered when he said he would commute the system of Ross. And that is also fantastic. I wish he would have said he was going to pardon Ross. He instead said commute. Not everyone caught that. There's a big difference between that. But in either event, that man who should not be in prison goes home. I'd rather him be pardoned. But we got a promise that if he were elected, he would commute him. Will Donald Trump break that promise? Maybe. But maybe he will not. Maybe he was planning on doing it anyway, but we don't know that. And maybe if he's elected, we had a small part to play in freeing that man. And that is something we should be extraordinarily proud of. And the fact that whether we like him or not, whether we like the power or not, let's deal in reality and not in fantasy for a second. The fact that that man came to speak to us shows that we are becoming an important voting bloc. Would he ever convince me to vote for him? No. As I was quoted by NBC, by the way, go look it up. I was quoted by NBC that asked me if there was any chance that Trump would convince me to vote for him, and I said I would rather eat my own foot out of a bear trap. I am quoted exactly for that, and I'm very proud of being quoted exactly for that. But I was willing to listen to what he had to say, because no matter how utopian I can be, I am also a realist, and knowing I want to take what we can get, even if it's just a little bit more freedom for other people. But I thought, besides the initial boos, which I thought were very embarrassing, and I don't care who's mad at me for thinking that, I always tell you my mind. Throughout the rest of the speech, I thought we booed where appropriate, and that did not embarrass me, because when he says anti-freedom or stupid things, he deserves to get booed. And when he said good things, we cheered, and I was happy for that. Something else that I thought went very well. Let's talk about Laura Loomer here for a minute, too. My God, what a basket case. And that's coming from someone with pink hair. So when you got someone with pink hair calling you a basket case, maybe you ought to take some self-reflection. But when the Trumpsters who came, and they paid ticket prices, so thank you for supporting the Libertarian Party with your finances, tried to, do a "we want Trump" speech, we drowned them out with "end the Fed," which Trump never promised or mentioned, by the way, or "free Ross." I was very proud of us when we did that. But speaking of Laura Loomer, she was like, "Oh my God," and these people came in and cleared out the Trump supporters from the front. Yeah, no shit, lady. It was our convention. It wasn't your convention. It was our convention. And while we invited him, we did not need to invite any of his supporters. Your supporters aren't going to do a thing for us. It was on our graciousness that you were there. And our delegates were entitled to sit up front. So cry me a river about, oh, boo-hoo, they weren't allowed up front. You have enough times where you get to be up front. We got to be up front this time. It was our house. You should be thankful that you were invited, rather than going after our chair and acting like a big Botox baby. Okay? Are we clear now? But let's talk about let me put this up, and then we're going to talk about how I got Loomered, because I want to explain something, and some libertarians will not be happy with me with this, but I'm more than glad to explain it. But Scott said he was in the back of the Trump event next to the press, had a number of them ask us who Ross was when we started chanting "Free Ross." They had no idea, but knew now. That's a win. That's a win. Ross should be home. And now more people know about that. That is such a win. But let me put up, I should have had this queued up already, but I didn't, because you guys know what a hot mess I am. I really am a live streamer. So let me put up here. This is Laura Loomer. Thinking she's got an own on me. So let me see if I can move this. Oh, I haven't been here for such a while. I've got cobwebs on my mic. Oh my God, that's so embarrassing. So here she is. Breaking, she says. Breaking. This is how breaking Laura Loomer's news is. Do you think it's a secret that I'm the national secretary of the Libertarian Party, considering now I'm, going to be on my fourth term? But breaking on a public Twitter feed, breaking, oh, you're such an investigative journalist, you sleuth, you. Breaking, Karen Ann Harlos, all caps, the national secretary for the Libertarian Party, who is featured on the Libertarian Party's website with a glowing review and endorsement. First, let's stop there, you idiot. Let's pretend like I was featured on the Libertarian Party's website with a glowing review and endorsement. What would you expect? I'm the national secretary. Do you expect the Libertarian Party website to go, "This is our national secretary. What a piece of shit"? I mean, this is just so retarded. It's unbelievable to me. But by the way, this glowing review that she's posting isn't on the Libertarian Party's website. What it is on the Libertarian Party of Florida's website, not as a glowing review and endorsement, but as a speaker bio, because I was a speaker at their convention. Like, she can't even get what her, because it ain't her, let's face it, she ain't doing her own research. This is other people. They couldn't even get it right that this wasn't the Libertarian Party's website. It was an affiliate's website. It wasn't a glowing review and endorsement. It was a speaker bio. Like, I mean, really, could you get your breaking news a little bit better? But anyway, it's now threatening libertarians. Do you feel threatened? Was I threatening anyone? This is just like so outrageously stupid. Is now threatening libertarians, telling them they aren't real libertarians. Now, first of all, every real libertarian tells every other libertarian that they're not a real libertarian. But by the way, that isn't what I was doing. Is now threatening libertarians, telling them they are not real libertarians if they are alleging voting for Donald Trump instead of Chase for Liberty, Chase Oliver. I'm not going to read her insults of him. I'm just not going to. You can see it for yourself on the screen. She's nobody to be taken seriously. Now, first of all, here is what I said. And I don't think, oh my God, the whole thing's not on the screen, but I can remember. What I did say is, if you're now alleging voting for Trump because you don't like Oliver, you are not in the Libertarian Party for thick or thin. And that's fine. Does that sound like a threat to you? And I go on to say, that's not how third-party movements survive. I am sticking around to carry on our legacy. I am a party person and I never hid that. I remain so. What part of that was a threat? What part of that did I say somebody wasn't a real libertarian? What I said, and I maintain that, is I am a party person. If you are disappointed with the nomination and now say that you're going to vote for Trump, I never claimed you weren't a real libertarian. All I claimed was you are not for the Libertarian Party for thick or thin. And I think even you would admit that if you are one of those people. I never tell people whether to vote at all or how to vote. I never said anything that she claimed I said. All I said is, I'm in this for good or bad. It's politics. It means you win some, you lose some. I am an officer of the Libertarian Party. As such, I have a fiduciary duty to support our candidates, and I intend upon that. That doesn't mean, if you've been reading my Twitter feed, you'll know this is true, that I won't criticize them, because that would be a gag order and unlibertarian. I will criticize them where I think they are incorrect, but they are light years beyond in libertarian issues and in the things I care about, like freedom and anti-war, than any other candidate. And I absolutely am going to be supporting our ticket and voting for our ticket. I've been very clear on that. I never threatened anyone. I never said you're not a real libertarian. If you are a libertarian who feels you can't vote for them, I am never going to tell you what to do. What I will try to sell you on is this, and you might not agree with me, and that's okay. Third-party politics is different from major party politics. In major party politics, you have the luxury of saying, I don't like this candidate, I'm gonna vote for a different one. In third-party politics, and even many libertarians disagree with me on this, you're not voting for candidates, you're voting for the party. We are, because of shit stains like Laura Loomer, we are fighting for our existence every election. Every election we are. So I vote libertarian down the line. That's just what I do. You can judge me for that. You can think I am wrong for that. But I am voting for the party. There hasn't been a libertarian candidate since I've been a libertarian that I've agreed with 100%. But my main issue right now is anti-war. It is absolutely anti-war and getting the government out of as much as possible. And without a doubt, no matter what I may disagree with on our ticket on some things, they are absolutely anti-war and getting the government out of things. So don't mistake my disagreement with saying I do not support the ticket, because I absolutely do. Now, on the things I disagree with, I'm not going to spend a whole show on this. I don't agree with his position that children should be, gender confused children should be put on puberty blockers. If a doctor decides. Doctors used to decide that it was okay for children to be lobotomized. I don't agree on that. But making that the main issue, that's not it for me. Because here's the thing. If World War III comes, we're all going to die. Not just the gender-confused children who are getting harmed by this. So I will speak out against the things I disagree with, but that does not overshadow the fact that we agree on 95% of the issues, and that is damn good. That is very, very damn good. To answer Justin Carmen's question, let me get Ms. Loomer off the screen here a second. Will I vote for candidates who aren't libertarian if there's no libertarian running? Generally, no. But I won't say always. Because in Colorado, there was one time I voted very recently, and I'm sure it's happened before. In nonpartisan races, if I know someone's a Republican or a Democrat, sometimes I will vote for them. Most of the time, I will skip that race. There was a race, it was a partisan race, I can't remember which one it was, last time. There was no libertarian running. I voted for the Constitution Party candidate. I didn't know a damn thing about them. I just wanted to show some love to third parties. I am all about people having additional choices. I knew that person wasn't going to win, and I wanted to support the idea of third parties. That is how I am. You can like it or not like it, but I've never lied to you. I've never pretended to be other than I am. I am a libertarian partisan. I've always said that. You could go back years on my show, and I've always said that. If you want to hold that against me, that's fine. Then why don't you do like I do with our current candidates? We agree on nearly everything. Let's, express our disagreements on the things we don't agree on. I'm sorry, I'm starting to get really parched, and I didn't bring a soda down. Wayne, if you're listening, I would love a soda at this point. Okay, so I see Robert Franks here. Robert and I have interacted a lot on Twitter. We agree on so much. Like, I feel very, 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 very strongly on the fact that children cannot consent to cross-sex hormones and puberty blockers. I absolutely, that is my position. But I'm not throwing my vote to anywhere else because of that issue. I'm just not. You can judge. Am I still got that weird pimple? You can judge me for that or not. I am going to speak out against it, but I have a fiduciary duty to the party. If you can't respect that I take my oaths and my duties seriously, I don't know what to tell you. I am loyal and I keep my word. So, just wanted to make that clear. So, on to, what was the other one? Oh, how I completely bodied Meghan McCain today, because this was glorious. So, of course, all the politicians were coming out with their obligatory just like nauseating pride post today. And for those of you who don't know, like, I'm obviously not against gay people or anything like that, but pride has just become completely out of control. And the lip service that these politicians and corporations are paying to it is just outright pandering that makes me absolutely sick. So Meghan McCain, of all people, was like, doing her whole pride thing and talking about how brave it was to be gay in America. So I said to her, go fuck off. It takes zero bravery in this country except in some small towns. Go say this in Saudi Arabia. And then she said, ma'am, this is an Arby's. And then I said to her, ma'am, you are a bloodthirsty warhawk that will rot in hell. Go say hi to your dad. And she actually deleted that post. She got bodied so hard that she deleted that post. So yes, I am very, very, very proud of the fact that I got Meghan McCain to delete a post. She thought she was going after the pink-haired progressive, is what she thought. I know that's what she thought, because people make snap judgments, and that's what they think when they see me, and they don't know what's coming. They don't know it's coming at all. So yeah, that was definitely, let me put Mercury up here on the screen. Yes, achievement unlocked, effing savage. Definitely. That won the internet for me today. I was very, very proud of it. But there was another comment, and I know people will not agree with me, but I had a conversation with a friend earlier today, and I'll explain my perspective. That's all I can do. You don't have to agree with me. H. Reardon says, I'm loyal to my principles, not a political party. I don't think the two are mutually exclusive. I really am personally, doesn't mean that you can't say it. This is where I'm saying my opinion and perspective. I think that's a non sequitur. I do not believe in that principles over party thing when it comes to third party politics and liberty movements. It's like I'm not going to say I got into it with some Free State Project people, because I'd never say that, because I absolutely believe in the Free State Project. But I don't believe in trashing how other people determine is what they think for them is the best fit for the path forward for liberty. If I ever felt that the Libertarian Party on whole and over time, not in a snapshot, wasn't in line with my principles and my goals for liberty, I would leave. But you start talking about high time perspectives. Over a high time perspective, I do not believe there is any kind of clash between my principles and my political party, or I would not be in it. I do not believe in hopping in and out. That is me. You do you, boo-boo. But for someone to go, oh, you're holding your party over principles. No, they're the same thing to me. And the minute they aren't the same thing to me, I would leave. So if you want to bark up that tree, that's fine. But you ain't going to catch no raccoon barking up that tree with me, because that is not the way I look at things. You might, again, you do you, boo-boo, but I'm in the Libertarian Party because it comports with my principles. And my principles are much more timeless than a candidacy that is going to be over in 5 months if you don't like it. There are plenty of other things to do. Here is the reality. We're not going to win the presidency. I mean, some weird confluence of circumstances can happen where maybe we do, but the chances are we are not. There is so much more to do than that. And if that is all you are focusing on, I don't know what to tell you. There's a lot out there to do for liberty. And whatever you're doing for liberty, I respect it. If you choose to move to New Hampshire and be, part of the Free State Project, which I think is just a brilliant idea, then go for it. You choose to be in third-party politics in the Libertarian Party, then go for that. But go for it wholeheartedly and don't be a fair weather friend. I criticized a lot. the past 2 years the people who threw baby tantrums after they didn't get their way in Reno and left the party. I criticized them a lot. Well, I'm going to offer that same criticism to people who are of my side. The people who were the victors in Reno, who now, because they didn't get the presidential candidate that they wanted, are now flopping out. Okay, bye, Felicia. I'm in it for the party. I criticized the people who flounced out after Reno. If I'm going to be consistent, I'm going to do the same thing this time. Now, let's talk some real talk about the convention. So let's say you are, and I'll say it, even though I support the ticket, that was not my first choice. I did not vote for either candidate that won. I do not mind saying that. I did not. But I'm in a party in which I voluntarily agreed to the rules, and I am going to abide by them, and I am going to do my duty. But do you want, there's all of this, upset that preferred candidates didn't win. Well, one, were you there? If you weren't, I'm not going to play the guilt trip on you that, if you weren't there, then you have no say. Of course you have a say. But if you could have been there and chose not to, well, I'm sorry, you've got to take some of the blame of that for yourself. And I also know that the people on the other side of the issue were told to stay till Monday, and a lot of people left. If you left, the margin was close. Your vote could have made a difference. So if you left, that's, I understand. People have family circumstances and things like that. I'm trying not to be too judgmental, but that's why you stay to the bitter end. And the people who stayed to the bitter end are the ones who won. I gotta turn this heater off down at my feet. Okay, that was getting warm. So let me talk here. Trendlin asks, I'm still not 100% sure why Noda almost won and what would the ramifications have been. I said on Twitter, and a lot of people were mad at me, I voted Noda in the 7th round. I've always been transparent with you. I voted Noda because that was the way I felt at the moment. And that is a valid option. And if we can never use it or be shamed, or if we can never use it because we're scared, then let's take it out of the bylaws then. If we're not allowed to use it or we'll be shamed, like people have tried to shame me on Twitter, then take it out of the bylaws. If it's in the bylaws, we're allowed to use it. Why did Noda almost win? Noda almost won because we have a very divided party. Whether we're going to come together or not, I am willing to work towards. But at that moment, we had a very divided party. That's why Noda almost won. What would the ramifications have been? Let's talk about that. If Noda won and nothing else happened, we would not have run a presidential candidate that year. Some people are saying, well, that would mean that a certain number of states, and I don't know the exact number, it's between 13 and 18, I think, would have lost ballot access. That's not exactly true. That is what people were told. But that is not exactly true. And that kind of angers me that not everyone was given the exact truth. But I'm not saying anybody purposely lied. Things were very confusing. Oh, and Rocky Mountain, I will get your comment on the screen. So thank you for the super chat. So if NOTA would have won, according to our current bylaws, then we would not have selected a national candidate at convention. Let me put Justin Carmen's comment up here. It said states would select individually. Correct. States, depending upon election law. That is not true in every state. I don't know if it's true in those 13 to 18 states. But a lot of states could select, I'm going to keep that up there, individually. Next thing. No, you cannot suspend the bylaws. Please don't ever say you can suspend the bylaws. You cannot suspend the bylaws. But we could have voted in a bylaw change. And it could have been a temporary bylaw change. I can tell you what was on my mind when I voted NOTA. What was on my mind is that we would then do a temporary bylaws change and get Spike Cohen to be on the ballot. I'm going to tell you, that is what was on my mind. I thought Spike would step up. But states could still select individually. Let me tell you also something that's a reality check. In those states in which ballot access depends upon the presidential nominee, it is dependent upon the presidential president, vice president, getting a certain percentage. I don't care who our nominee is this term. It's going to be a tough turn. I hope we do well. I will be campaigning and voting. I hope we do well. But with RFK Jr. and other choices sucking all the air out of the room, it's going to be very, very difficult to achieve the needed vote percent. So there is a chance that our ticket will not, even though we have a ticket in those very same states that might not achieve that vote percentage, and we still could lose ballot access. So simply having a candidate doesn't guarantee ballot access in those states. So that's another thing. So no, it wasn't foregone that 13 to 18 states would lose ballot access. Some of them are going to lose it probably anyway. I hope not, but I'm being realistic here. We could have done a bylaws change. We had a lot of options on the table. So to say that anybody who voted NOTA as their conscience just wanted to torpedo the party, you are just wrong, and you are lying about your fellow libertarians. So those are the ramifications if in fact that would have happened. Now Rocky Mountain had said, I'm not sure who I would have picked. Choosing based upon what I saw on C-SPAN and YouTube would have vastly differed from what I heard and seen on the convention floor. It's so, and that's true. It's so hard to tell when you are there. When you are there, I did not see a consensus. That's why I voted the way I did. I did not see unity coming out of that nomination. It was not animus towards our nominee. For the 10th millionth time, I support our ticket and I will be campaigning for our ticket. But I saw a lot of division. And I did not believe NOTA would win. But I had hoped, and I still hope, that coming out of that convention, seeing that NOTA got 36% of the vote should inspire our nominees to work even harder towards unity. They definitely did not have a mandate coming out of this convention. So I had hope to bring unity out of it, or on the off chance that Noda would have won, to try to talk Spike Cohen into running, because I adore Spike. But to go after your fellow libertarians who utilize their right to put down Noda, then take it out of the bylaws, because it's in the bylaws for a reason. If you don't like it, then next time, let's amend the bylaws. I actually do think the bylaws should be amended. I think the bylaws saying that we will not have a nominee at all is pretty damn harsh. I think it should be the same as it is for LNC candidates, where it says, say for LNC chair, if Noda wins LNC chair, nominations are reopened, and none of the candidates who were on the previous slate, nomination, who were previously nominated, would be eligible. I think that's much more reasonable, and I would like to see a bylaws amendment to that effect. Yes, I'm going to put this up here. To Travis, thank you so much for the super chat. Whether or not you agree with Chase or not, calling him a communist, I'm sorry. What my Italian dad would call it is you got nuts in the gaba, nuts and bolts in the head. Chase is not a communist. He might be more leftist, and his presentation might be more leftist than you may personally like, but not everything you don't like is a communist. That's just dumb. That's just dumb, and stop saying that. Okay. I am continuing here. Oh, that's interesting, Scott. Scott said, I voted Noda on ballot 7. I applaud you for your bravery for saying that. It's a shame that libertarians have to be scared to say that that's what they did. I'm not, in Colorado, we don't have secret ballots, so anyone can know how I voted on anything. But as he said, Dan Fishman, who's someone I don't particularly get along with, willing to make peace, spoke very passionately for, speaking of Dan Fishman.
Objection, speculative.
Yeah.
Objection, speculative.
He spoke very eloquently for Noda during our regional meeting. He inspired me. Noda is an option. Most people will know by now, I'm not a huge fan of Noda, but it's in our bylaws. And if it's in our bylaws, we need to be allowed to use it. And this is true here where Justin said, again, yeah, I wanted to appeal to the hardcore LP base. RFK is going to get most of the protest vote unless some huge scandal or something comes out against him. That's just being realistic. That's not against our nominees. And Justin said he hadn't thought of Spike, but he likes the idea. I was thinking of Spike, but I'd been working on Spike for like 7 months now to try to get him to run. And maybe he wouldn't have if Noda had won, but I would have nominated him. Some dude I want to put up, thank you for the super chat, said the LP, I don't like how it keeps removing it. There's like a timer I need to fix, so I'll keep hitting add to broadcast when it disappears. The LP candidate's only value is messaging. Wouldn't the smartest thing to be to support an advertising campaign messenger like Dave Smith on anti-war and forced medication to speak to non-libertarians? Dave Smith didn't want to run. Dave Smith was my guy. Dave Smith is mad at me because apparently, in my autistic way, I criticized him too heavily on Twitter for not running. I don't even know what I said, but I know he's upset with me for whatever I said. Tried to make peace with him at convention. Don't think it worked. Doesn't matter. I'm still a huge Dave Smith fan. Dave Smith was my guy. I wanted him to run. He didn't. That's his choice. I think he would have done the best. Honestly, him or Spike would have done the best. But neither of them stepped up to run. Aha. Does it usually take a full day for credentials? We can't extend convention to 4 days. People are not going to stay 4 days. We thought about doing it this time, and all that would happen is that we would lose quorum on the most important day. Does it usually take a full day for credentials? In the past, no. And a lot of people are not going to like what I have to say, as if I've ever cared about that. It took a full day for credentials because us as libertarians decided that bylaws didn't matter. I'm going to be doing a joke bylaws amendment in Colorado, and what it's going to be is that our bylaws in Colorado can be amended either by a 2/3 vote or if you chant loud enough, because apparently communist chanting of "seat them all" is enough to sanitize violating state party bylaws. I know some states are mad at me for this. I insist everyone follow their bylaws. There were persons seated who should not have been seated, and we spent a whole day arguing about it when we should have just followed the bylaws. And they could have been seated with a 7/8 vote, and it would have all been legitimate. But instead, we had to waste all day on it with dumb chanting and people being swayed by that, rather than, as libertarians, being overly emotional. We didn't sit and examine bylaws, the rules. How in the world can we have a voluntary society if we don't all agree to follow the rules we voluntarily agreed to? Which is why we had to amend our bylaws to then later seat them legitimately with a 2/3 vote. Now, honestly, I think 2/3 rather than 7/8 is more reasonable. You want to know who made that vote threshold 7/8? Nick Sarwark, by the way. I do think a 2/3 vote threshold is more reasonable. But we should have just voted them in legitimately instead of acting like a bunch of rioters chanting "seat them all" as if that cures bylaws violations. Seat them legitimately, and we could have been done in an hour. That is our own fault. Credentials should not have taken that long. And then we find out, and I don't have the screenshot with me, and listen, I understand politics, I understand making strategic motions, but when you got someone like Jonathan Casey, who is in his own caucus whipping out to his delegates to do fraudulent microphone time-wasting techniques, that's why it takes a whole day. Get to the mic. Fuck, this is what he said, literally. Get to the mic. Fuck this shit up. Say anything you have to. Say the room is too cold. He was telling his delegates to get on the microphone and lie. I spent thousands of dollars to be there, as did many of you. Just know that there were people there who were trying to make sure that your convention was fucked up by lying on the microphone. I'm all about, within the rules, smart convention tactics, smart motion tactics, but getting on the mic and encouraging people to lie is fraudulent. And Jonathan Casey encouraged that. That is my allegedly point of view. You don't do things like that. You don't encourage things like that. I would never encourage things like that. Yes, there are things you can do to run out the clock. You might not like it. It's legitimate. I would go, that's politics. But telling people to get on the mic and lie and just make things up to waste people's time was so disrespectful to everyone in that room that was working so hard. And I'm continuing here. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce your name. Did Dave Smith leave the party? Are the rumors true? I heard he said he's stepping back from the party, so I don't know. If we are all dependent upon one Libertarian, then we are in big trouble. I hope it's not true. I like Dave Smith. If he needs to take some time off, that is his prerogative, and I hope he sees his way back, and I wish him nothing but the best. Yeah, Justin, I hear you here, and as a late member to the Credentials Committee, I do think the Credentials Committee was completely disrespected. It looked at all of the evidence, but apparently seat them all is enough to overcome blatant violations of rules. If we are going to be ruled by emotion, we might as well be Democrats. Some dude asked, will the party not be running marketing support? We're not going to do marketing support for someone else's project. Dave Smith has his own business. We're not going to be running marketing support for another business. That just doesn't make any sense. He draws in new people. Yeah, I think people like Dave Smith and Tom Woods do draw in new people, but we're not a marketing agency. They can do their own marketing. We're not going to be marketing for Dave Smith or Tom Woods. That's their livelihood. They need to do their own marketing. If he draws in new people, great. If he wants to participate in some kind of affiliate program where, for every new member we get that clicks on their link, I'm sure that's something that the chair will be open to, but the LP does not exist to support podcasts. Even though I know all of us have them, including me. I'm not even a bro, and I'm a podcast bro. Morgan asked, couldn't the illegal delegates being admitted result in Chase getting sued off the ballot in every state? We cured that at convention. That was a danger. So all you seat them all, bros. Yeah, you almost risked more so than the people who you're mad at for voting NOTA. We made a bylaws amendment about at least the two states that broke their bylaws so that it cured that deficiency. So those delegates, by the end of the convention, were seated legally. So there is no issue with that. Michigan is a whole other story that I'm not going to talk about. It is the subject of ongoing litigation. It is so complicated that I'm not even going to get into here. But they were cured. The two other states, whatever deficiency existed that wasted our time, those were cured. And I am continuing. Yes, I agree with Nick here. If we didn't do the bylaws change, we would have risked our ticket. So, for states who are like upset you won't see our alternates or whatever it is, it's not just about you people. Like, seriously, when you're, we have a reputation as libertarians of being selfish. Well, that is extraordinarily selfish, because you don't like the results of your bylaws because they were worded in a way you don't like the results of. To risk a whole convention over that is extraordinarily selfish. And as you saw later on in the convention, we did seat people with required votes. So, and Mike had a suggestion here that I don't think will be super popular with states, but I am starting to get on board with, that I think we need some standardization on national delegates. I know states really, really value their autonomy, but it is asking way too much of the credentials committees to be familiar with 50+1 different affiliates bylaws, to know all of their rules. I think the national bylaws need to have standardized rules on delegates that all of the states need to follow. Then we will not have these credentialing disputes. You will not have the credentials committee having to become familiar with all of these different bylaws. I don't know what that would look like. I don't know what would be acceptable to everyone, but I think it's becoming increasingly obvious that the current system we have right now is not workable with having 50+1 different rules. But I also understand that there are some states that have certain laws on delegate selections to national conventions. So I don't know what the answer is, but I know what's going on right now just isn't workable. Yeah, and half of the things that were raised as a point of order were not a point of order. A lot of the times people interrupted with points of information. We're going to probably do some shows on those. Weren't interruptible. Neither were certain points of parliamentary inquiry. But then again, some of that was being instigated from delegate chats that I mentioned before, of purposely telling people to waste time. And yes, we do need to have a manner in which mics are muted unless being recognized, Justin. But part of the problem was the way the stage lights were on us, Angela couldn't see the mics. It wasn't the same as in Reno, where you could see everyone lined up and the chair could go microphone 1 and then that microphone could be turned on. We couldn't see in that room that way. So that's something definitely to think about for the future. So it wasn't workable to have the mics muted until the person was recognized, because then people would not have gotten recognized because Angela simply couldn't see them. And also, for those of you getting frustrated where I might not have heard your name, and a lot of these minutes are going to be said bracket unknown delegate moved X, we did not have monitors on the stage. That's another lesson to learn. We could not hear you up there. So everything I was hearing, I was counting on the bounce back from the mics, the speakers that were on the floor. I could not hear a thing up there. I cannot tell you how difficult my job was up there. But I've got some recordings in the YouTube videos that hopefully will help. But I have a feeling this is going to be the worst set of minutes I've ever produced. I obviously have the motions from my live notes, but a lot of the names I just did not get. Lori brought up a good point that no one knew why they shouldn't be seated. You know, there was a failure in communication there. I think it should have been explained much more thoroughly by the Credentials Committee chair. I'm not ragging on Josh. There's always woulda, coulda, shoulda, but there were very good reasons why the Credentials Committee voted not to put them on the report. And they could have been voted in legitimately. All the seat them all people could have chanted that same seat them all when they came up validly for a 7-ace vote. And we shall see. I'm also excited for the next 2 years, Jack. We shall see what happens. Pat says, Angela allowed the 7-ace rule to be changed to 2/3. Angela doesn't allow or disallow anything. Angela had a very light touch at that convention. All the people who claim like she's some dictatorial chair, I think you saw at that convention, that is not Angela's style. Angela is very collaborative. It is not up to her to allow or disallow a bylaws change. That is up to the body. It is only her job to facilitate what the body wants as long as it is within the rules. It would have been completely improper for her not to allow that rule to be changed. And honestly, I do think 2/3 is a much more reasonable threshold than 7/8. 7/8 should be reserved for the statement of principles. When that bylaw was added, I think in 2012, maybe 2014, the recommendation of the bylaws committee was 2/3. It was amended on the floor to 7/8 by Nick Sarwark. I always thought it should have been 2/3. 7/8 is really, really rough. And Justin is correct. I wouldn't say all of the points of order were fucking nonsense, but 99% of them were. And I don't know whether it was from trying to purposely waste time or ignorance, but we definitely need some more education in the party. Those are not what point of orders are. Points of order should be relatively rare. When you're hearing them every 2 seconds, you're doing something wrong. And you can't raise a point of order when a point of order is in the middle of being dealt with. Like, seriously, get some basic education, or you're purposely trying to be dilatory. Okay. I'll put this on the screen because I don't know. Do we need more libertarians in Missouri or Utah? I don't know. I've been to Utah. There's a lot of libertarians in Utah. The Mormons are actually very libertarian-minded. You don't need to agree with them religiously, but they are very libertarian-minded. And of course, yes, we do need libertarians everywhere. Morgan says, I'm the chair of an affiliate in a red county with local candidates. Coverage of Chase's leftist aspects are going to be a big problem in our ballot access. Any ideas how to handle this? Oh, God, it depends on your county. I live in a very red county myself. I would simply focus on the freedom aspects and the fact that, you know, in libertarianism, that you have the freedom to have a more, you know, leftist presenting view as long as you don't want government to force it, just as you do a more conservative view, as long as you don't want government to force it. I mean, that's libertarianism. And there were plenty of left-leaning counties or affiliates that had problems with the more right-leaning aspects of the Mises Caucus. We have to be able to accept within our own party there are going to be people that are more left and some people that are more right. And just, you know, people who can't handle that are probably not going to be people who are going to vote for our candidates to begin with. That might not have been the answer you wanted, but I think it's the most accurate one. Yeah, Justin, when you were up there, yeah, the echo was horrible. I'm surprised I got in as much as I did. My God, it was terrible. I was having such a terrible time, but the visibility was, and again, just a lesson learned for the future. Probably should have did a test run for that. It's no shade on our AV guys. They were wonderful to us. Lori said I needed an assistant up there. I did have one who was supposed to be there, but due to some family circumstances, could not make it. So there was a plan to have a secretarial assistant up there. And thank you, Tom said, we appreciated your work from Oregon. I'm glad it was appreciated. It was a difficult job this time, but it is a job that I love to do. Yeah, Justin, I did find this funny. So much for seat them all. Colorado didn't get someone added to their delegation. You win some, you lose some, but that is an interesting point you put up there. Even with the 2/3 vote, all of a sudden the seat them all did not want to seat the single person from Colorado when we don't seat out-of-state people. So it wasn't even like it was just some rando that came off the street. It was someone that was from Colorado, because we don't see out-of-state delegates, but they got denied. So much for the seat them all. So, Justin, I gotta read my notes because maybe my sickness has gotten to me. I think the bylaws were permanently amended to be 2/3. I don't think that was a temporary amendment, but it might have been. My memory could be wrong. I know at least for this convention, it went to 2/3. But I think it was a permanent bylaws amendment. At least I hope it was, because I do think 2/3 is a much more reasonable number. And let me see here. And Jack asked, was the convention profitable for the party? Very much so. I don't have the final numbers in front of me, but it certainly was. Contrary to people who will never take responsibility for what they had to say, that were saying, oh, they'll be lucky if they sell their room block out at the hotel. It was sold out months before convention. And I thought I heard, I'm being sarcastic because I did hear, of some salty former person who goes, and the officers are going to be marched out of there, arrested. I still seem to be free. I just don't know why people say such hyperbolic and hateful things. Okay, Morgan says, will we get a Michigan lore dump once litigation clears up? That story is hard to keep track of. Yes, you will. It might be a long time, though. There are some things I can tell you about the Michigan litigation right now. There's multiple. So litigations. There's still a case and a county name that I can't pronounce. Wabochiton or something like that. If anyone is here from Michigan, I don't know everything that's going on in that case, but a Michigan state judge telling a state affiliate who they had to submit as their delegates seems to me to be really large state overreach that could have affected the results of a national convention. And I think that judge done messed up. Not involved in that case, but that was something. That was severely some judicial overreach, and the gag order that he put on the chair of Michigan is most definitely a violation of that chair's First Amendment rights. Whether anything comes out of that, I don't know. I'm not part of it, but that was something. And in my non-legal, non-unauthorized practice of law opinion, that judge done messed up. Like, that was a lot. That was a lot. But we'll see how that goes. I'll keep you posted. But on the case that I do know about, which is the federal appellate case that is going on right now. Oral argument is finally coming. It took a long time. What is the date today? Is it the 1st, the 2nd? I've been in bed so long that since convention, it's the 2nd, isn't it? I don't have the calendar up on my. Oh wait, I got my Apple Watch. Does it say the date? I don't think it says the date. I only use this to know when I get text messages. Somebody tell me what date it is. Anyway, whatever date it happens to be, the oral argument on that case takes place on June 11th, and then the court will take however long the court is going to take to issue its ruling. That is the appellate court case on the appeal from the preliminary injunction, which was granted to the LNC. So we'll see how that goes. I will report to you on the results of that once we know. But a big data dump on everything that went down, yeah, that will come eventually, but no lie, that could be a couple years out, to be honest with you. Mike, I do think the bylaws change was permanent. I have to look at my notes, but I'm pretty sure it is permanent. It was asked if we have a committee looking into getting affiliates for the U.S. territories up and running. We have had affiliates in the territories before. We've had a Libertarian Party of Guam, and we've had a Libertarian Party of Puerto Rico. No, we don't have a committee doing that because that's not the sort of thing a committee does. The way affiliates get up and running in the territories is for libertarians in the territories to do it. Us setting up a committee in the non-territories here does nothing. If you get 15 is it 15 or is it 10? I can't remember, I'm a bit fried, in the bylaws, who want to sign some bylaws and do a petition for affiliation for the Libertarian Party of Puerto Rico, it's done. We want affiliates in the territories, but it takes committed activists in the territories to just organize an affiliate. That's all they need to do. It's not hard. Get together, have a convention, adopt some bylaws, sign a petition for affiliation, and boom, it's done. We've had them before. Love to have them again. And let's see. Okay, I want to try to answer that question though. I don't think I can do it on this computer, on whether that bylaws change was permanent or temporary. I'm trying to pull up my live notes, but I don't think I can get to that account on this computer. But I'm pretty positive it was permanent. And boo hiss, it was the only bylaws change that we got to. Yeah, I can't get to it on this computer. I will let you guys know because I can't get my password in on my secretary account. Okay, it looks like that's about it for talking about the convention, about Laura Loomer, about Meghan McCain. I'm going to give it a few minutes to see if you guys have any other questions. Did my questions about... Okay, Nick, what was your question? I didn't choose not to answer anything. So, Nick, please let me know again what your question was about the Credentials Committee. I'll give it a minute for you to get it typed back up. I don't know if Nick heard me. I'm just gonna wait a few minutes more. The name, which I cannot pronounce, was like getting a set of libertarians willing to move to the territories. Anyone could like try to get a group together and do that. With the National Party's got enough work to do that just like we can't be getting people to move to New Hampshire, except for by saying the Free State Project is a good idea. If a group moved to the territories, I am sure there are groups already in the territories that, you know, if someone were to motivate them, that they would affiliate. To answer Cam Liberty about Nick Sarwark and the fake assault, a lot of people don't like me for this opinion. I'm not in favor of banning anyone from the party. I think that's a snake that will turn around and bite you back. I think that that's a genie's bottle we do not want to open. Just practice voluntary disassociation. Nick, I was giving you a few moments to see what your question was on credentials, and I don't see it up, so there wasn't any questions that I chose not to answer. I just said that in the beginning because I didn't know what kind of weirdo questions people might be asking. So whenever I say AMA, I'm almost like ask me almost anything. Yeah, that it was permanent then. It was, if it did not have a proviso that it was just for that convention, then it was permanent. And I'm going to be renaming that document in the future. Should never have called them live minutes. Those are not minutes. Those are just notes for people to follow along with motions. The minutes are going to look entirely different. Okay, everyone. I hope you have an awesome night. Hope that answered some questions about convention. I'm sure we will have a bunch more, and I'll be live streaming as much as possible. Hopefully I don't get sicker. I hope you have an awesome night, and thank you everyone for the super chats, and talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
You gotta take what you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in the business, not because they want to